After having like a 2,000 calorie meal, I slammed the meat mass. That's like another 1,300 calories of just garbage. And then, go lie down because I can't even fucking function. What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about my worst dirty bulk of all time and was it worth it for what actual permanent tissue I gained out of it. So obviously there's like different camps. There's people who think that, the dirty bulk and just aggressively gaining as much as you can. While it may not be the healthiest route, it's believed to yield more contractile tissue at the end of the day after you peel the fat off. And then there's the other camp of individuals who think that lean bulking up, slow and steady is the way to go. And because once you have to peel off the fat, then it's less of a, you won't have to drive down your calories and rev the cardio up so much and, really kill yourself to get that fat off and potentially make yourself catabolic and lose that muscle to begin with, in which it would become a double-edged sword and you would have made more progress if you just lean bulked. So there's like two camps of individuals, and where I stand, I've done the dirty bulks, I've done the lean bulks, I've done the everything in between. And honestly, I think the ideal place, it depends on you and your own, glucose tolerance and insulin resistance levels. And because some people just can't tolerate like huge amounts of food at high levels of body fat. They just get to a point where their insulin sensitivity is so shit that they would be better off going the lean bulk approach. And then there's some people who seem to just maintain like optimal biomarkers and just physiologic functions regardless of how, even when they're getting super soft, they don't, and pounding carbs, they have like no issues really. So, or at least it's significantly less than, some other guy who, has tons of issues. So at the end of the day, it's a bit individual dependent. And I think the answer sort of lies somewhere in the middle. But with that being said, I've done the dirtiest of dirty bulks, like eating everything in sight. And honestly, like looking back on it, my blood pressure was high. I would be in the middle of class at university and just like get a nosebleed and have to go to the washroom because the fucking D-ball deca was spiking my blood pressure so much. I was walking around with like 160 over fucking 110 blood pressure, which is just insane. That was like my worst cycle ever. The combination of test deca D-ball and eating like a complete moron, that was like the biggest recipe for disaster for blood pressure, as well as just looking horrendous. And that's where I got this iconic and amazing photo of my face at completely blown up. And believe it or not, this weight was only like 20 pounds more than what I weigh right now, but it was like so much fat and water that it just looked absolutely disgusting. It was like my face was eating my own face. Like that's how rough it was. And I was literally having family members tell me I'm fat. I was having people comment that I'm way too fat. And I would just keep saying, it's fine, I'm bulking, I know what I'm doing. And I did lean out eventually, but was it conducive to gaining more muscle than I otherwise would have gained doing a leaner approach? No, it was terrible. It was like the worst thing I could have done. I wasn't accounting for estrogen control, even looking at my blood pressure. I'd literally get a nosebleed like 5 times a day. I'd be in the middle of like a squat and like my nose would start bleeding. Like all this crazy, ridiculous shit. And I was just like, pounding the Snickers bar, slamming mutant mass shakes with milk. I'd like literally throw up and then go slam a mutant mass shake because I just threw up and lost my calories. I remember walking out of a restaurant called Red Robin with my friends, and I just had like bottomless fries, like they have a bunch of bottomless stuff there. I just had the most massive meal, and then I pull out a fucking 1,300 calorie mutant mass shake with milk in the parking lot, and I slam it after having like a 2,000 calorie meal. I slam the mutant mass. That's like another 1,300 calories of just garbage. And then, go lie down because I can't even fucking function. It was just like the worst of the worst kind of stuff that somebody who's completely uneducated would do. And honestly, I think it was pretty common back then. No one really talked about how to do things. But when you're when you're young too, and you don't even, it's not like there was that many good sources of information. And on top of that, you just don't really have I don't know. It was just like a different time. There wasn't people on YouTube talking about like stupid shit that you should avoid. So anyways, I just did like the classic what somebody thinks they should do who has absolutely no idea what they're doing, which is eat as much food as possible because the scale going up equals good. and just trying to gain as much weight as I possibly can. I think I gained like literally 70 pounds or something during that bulk, and it was just 80% of it was shit weight, at least, if not more. And, it was a terrible idea. I think like a lean bulk with some like dirtiness thrown in to reach a calorie allotment is reasonable for somebody who has an issue with maintaining an adequate intake of calories. But just having like uncontrolled, like see it, eat it mentality and going with all like palatable foods that are super like sugar dense and whatnot just to hit your macros, it's like it's gonna just result in like a shit body composition and like horrible progress. And at the end of the day, it wasn't even almost about calories in versus calories out. It was just food quality was so bad. So it's not even like the dirty bulk is. I don't think the dirty bulk would be as bad if the food quality was on point, because at least muscle growth would be optimized and supported. Even though you're packing on way too much fat still for it to be optimal, in my opinion, at least you would get the most out of your cycle in terms of gaining actual contractile tissue as opposed to just gaining like a subpar amount and an excessive amount of fat. So I don't think the dirty bulk really has a place nowadays. I think there are smarter ways to go about it. And even if you don't go the, like slow and steady bulk route, which I don't think is necessarily something you can do as an enhanced athlete, no pun intended. But if you're enhanced, I don't think, trying to spread out and go as lean as possible long term is not really the best approach either, because you have limited sporadic time frames to gain as much muscle as possible during an off season, and then you have a cutting phase for your contest preps, and then you should have an allotted time at least like once a year where you try and clean out and really like fix your biomarkers and fix your blood work and fix everything that's wrong with you. So trying to stay on a cycle for like the problem with that people don't talk about when they talk about lean bulk versus dirty bulk is they don't comment on the fact that if you're natural, perhaps lean bulking versus dirty bulking, there's more of an argument. But if you're on gear and you're blasting a super physiological dosage, you're exposing your body to that amount of drug for a longer period of time if you're going the super conservative lean bulk route. So it's almost like perhaps you might gain a bit more fat going the a bit dirtier route in terms of, when I say dirty, I just mean a bit of like a heavier surplus rather than like a very minor one. Sure, you might gain a bit more fat, but you might support additional muscle growth that you would otherwise not get at the lower calorie amount where you're like barely, like 100, 200 calories over maintenance. And the problem with it is if you do the slow and steady approach, if you're on gear, you can't just stay on a blast for 12 months straight and just gain slow and, lean the entire time, because you should have a limited time frame for packing on as much muscle as you can, rather than you don't want to be on a fucking gram of test for 2 years straight because you want to go slow and steady and gain 1 lean pound a month. Like, that's not the way to go about it, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, like, 12 pounds lean in a year is a fucking shit ton, but it's still, in my opinion, to actually get that net gain of 10 pounds of lean tissue a year, which I think is a very lofty but well thought out goal for somebody who's actually enhanced and is going, blasting off seasons, competition prep, off time. Shooting for like 10 pounds of lean tissue per year is not completely out of the realm of possibility, and it's reasonable if you're like completely on point with everything, in my opinion. At least once you like first get into the realm of enhancement, perhaps down the road you might be better served by shooting for 5 pounds a year or something like that. But 10 pounds net contractile tissue is a huge gain, but I don't think the way to go about that is blasting year round and shooting for, like 1 pound gain a month and eating like 50 calories over your maintenance. You know what I mean? So anyways, there's, debate going both ways, and just be smart. Don't eat like a fucking idiot. Like, the dirty bulk is not the way to go. Have a decent surplus. Hit your, macro allotments, get your micronutrients in, train hard, support your recovery with adequate amounts of food, but don't, drag it out so long that you're on gear for excessively long periods of time because you're trying to do it lean. That's my suggestion for a risk management context, because at the end of the day, despite having a bit more fat, maybe, I would argue it'd be more unhealthy to go about it dragging your cycle out so you can really like try and not gain any fat during your off season. So accept a bit of fat gain. It's going to come, it just comes with the territory, and don't expose yourself to drugs longer than you need to. That's basically the takeaway. So anyways, take from that what you will. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, BitChute, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, wherever I am. Please do comment and like. It does actually help the algorithm and helps bring the channel to a new audience, get it on the recommended of other people's stuff that may not see it otherwise and whatnot. So if you guys want to support me and my stuff, please do, drop a comment, hit the like button. It actually helps. So thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.